Hey guys, Dara here and welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, welcome. So today I will be doing my March TBR. This video can also double as my coworkers choose my TBR because most of my TBR books are books that my coworkers have recommended I read. I think the only book I have on this list that is not coworker recommendation is because I want to read it before the movie comes out. So without further ado, let's just get started. Let's start off with the book that I chose to read this month is 5 Feet Apart by Rachel Lippincott with Mickey Daughtry and Tobias Laconis. I got it with the regular cover. I know at Barnes & Noble I've seen it with the movie cover, but honestly I really like this cover. We follow two characters with cystic fibrosis, and the rule here is that people with cystic fibrosis can't be within 6 feet of each other or else they'll end up catching each other's bacteria. Here we follow Stella and Will. Stella is the regimen queen. She really wants to get better and I think she's on the wait list for new lungs. And then we have Will, who is the I'm gonna die someday, so why should I be taking all these drugs? It's the whole I don't care to get better attitude. And so when Stella meets him, Stella becomes the partner that will keep him in line so he can take his medication. So after spending so much time together, Stella begins to have feelings for Will. I'm really looking forward to reading it. It's a small book. I feel like I can finish it in a day. I like just sit down with 2 cups of coffee and bam, I'm done with it. Now we are in the coworkers recommend section. I have 4 books that were recommended by my coworkers. The deal here is I either asked them for a recommendation or I took the recommendation that they put out on the store. At least in my Barnes & Noble, we have employee recommends. It's at the very front of the store. There's a whole bay full of books. We each recommend, my recommendation is on there as well. And I just picked some that I haven't read and I knew I would be interested in. Most of the ones that were kind of YA slash type of books I read were already books I had already read. Like Nevernight was on there, The Darkest Minds was on there. There was another book that I didn't get because I had already read. The first book I have here was recommended by 2 of my coworkers. 1, I asked her, and 2, it's actually on the bay for employee recommendations that was on there, and that is Patrick Rothfuss's, I think I said it wrong, The Name of the Wind. I already have this on my list. I've been wanting to read it for a while, but I never picked it up because A, it's chunky. 2, it's kind of like high fantasy, like way high fantasy for my brain. And C, I had gotten the audiobook instead of the physical copy and I thought I'd be okay with just the audiobook. And like I said, it is very high fantasy. It was just too much for my brain just having it on audiobook. So I decided to get myself a copy. So what this book is about is something that has to do with the wind, I guess. I don't know. It says my name is, and I can't say it. Our main character is a hero and the story is told from his point of view. The story is a tale of sorrow, of survival, and a tale of one man's search for meaning in his universe. So it definitely does have a cool aspect to it. It really did capture my attention and that's why it was on my list, but I just haven't gotten around to it. I was really happy that it was recommended to me because I really want to get to it. You guys know I suck at explaining books, and hopefully once I read it I get a better grip as to what the story is about so I could give a better explanation on my wrap up. So excited to read this. So these next few books, I don't have a physical copy of them just yet. For some of them I'm waiting until payday to buy them. So the first one was a recommendation that I asked my coworker for, and it is Annihilation by Jeff Vandermeer. It's a trilogy. I believe a movie was made of this book or based on the book, but she told me that the movie and the book were so completely different that I could watch the movie and read the book because the movie gives nothing away to the book. So what I'm gathering from the summary is that Area X is part of the continent that has been sealed off for decades. Like nobody has been there. All traces of the human civilization has been erased in that area. Anybody who tries to go there, they just end up dying. I think the 3rd expedition in a hail of gunfire as its members turned on one another. The scientists or explorers who went to Area X on the 3rd expedition, they killed each other because I guess of some mind trick that's going on in Area X. So it really does sound like it's gonna be a really good book. She did say it was action-packed and very gripping. It looks like the 11th expedition actually returned back, but they were not themselves. So in the story, we're going to be following the 12th expedition. I'm excited for this one. 208 pages, another short one that I could probably get through in one day. Looks like the only chunky book I'm going to be reading this month is The Name of the Wind. The next book I chose to read is a recommendation that was on the Bay. I didn't ask my coworker for this, and that is Smoke Gets in Your Eyes and Other Lessons from the Crematory. I actually remember Becca from Becca in the Book saying something about this book, how she really liked it as well. I guess you could say it's recommended by my coworker and my booktube friend. I'm just gonna read you the description because me trying to figure out a great way to form a description for you guys is gonna take me like 5 hours. Most people want to avoid thinking about death, but Caitlin Doughty, a 20-something with a degree in medieval history and a flair for the macabre, took a job at a crematory, turning morbid curiosity into her life's work. With an original voice that combines fearless curiosity and mordant wit, Caitlin tells an unusual coming-of-age story full of bizarre encounters, gallows humor, and vivid characters, both living and very dead. Describing how she swept ashes from the machines and sometimes onto her clothes and cared for bodies of all shapes and sizes, Caitlin becomes an intrepid explorer in the world of the deceased. Her eye-opening memoir shows how our fear of dying warps our culture and society, and she calls for better ways of dealing with death. Caitlin's engaging narrative style makes the otherwise scary topic both approachable and profound. I think I remember Becca saying something about her having a web series or a podcast. Can't remember which. Really excited to read this. It's saying it's a memoir, so it's a nonfiction, and definitely not a type of book I would personally pick up or read, but it is a recommendation, so I'm reading it. And the last book I decided to read that a coworker recommended, I have been hearing her talk about this book a lot lately, and that is Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. So the way that my coworker described this book as being is that this girl was abandoned at 7 years old, and she was, I guess, named the Marsh Girl or the Swamp Girl. She had to teach herself how to survive living alone in this, I guess, swamp area, like how to fend for herself, like food, water, housing. So I guess a couple years later there's a murder, but because she's something not a lot of people know about, and people don't understand something, they tend to be the one blaming that, like, oh, it could have been the swamp girl. I guess that's how the story is going. At least that's the kind of feel I got when she was describing what the book was about. So it's actually been a really good bestseller at Barnes & Noble as well. A lot of people have been buying it. I tried the audiobook, but the narrator for some reason I did not like, and that kind of put me off a little bit on it. So it's a book I'm definitely not going to buy. I'm really excited because my coworker, she's been saying it's such an amazing book, and it's not only her. I think there's also another person who has read it who has said it's a really beautiful and amazing story as well. So those are all the books that I'll be reading in March / the books my coworkers recommended. That is all I have for you guys today. Let me know down in the comments below which is your favorite book, because I might end up choosing it for my TBR. Thank you guys for watching. Please make sure to give this video a big thumbs up if you liked it, and subscribe if you want to see more of my face, and I'll see you in my next video.